Oh wow! Looky who it is, it's Meth Goat. Hey bud. I haven't seen you around since the Dark Souls 3 days. It's been a minute, huh? Did you find yourself a stick? Oh, that's really cool. Got yourself a little stick there? Man, I've been having a time. Let me tell you. I found some new fashion, some new armor in the DLC. And we're back, baby. We're so back. Yeah, this is a build that's kind of inspired by my all 5 games build. This one here. So I got that old Chaos Servant armor on. Hey! Oh yeah. Oh, I got a lot of stuff to tell you, Meth Goat. I tried all kinds of different stuff with this build. Originally, the joke for this build was that I was going to use the Madness Katana that they put in the DLC. Before the DLC was out, I said there was going to be a Madness Katana. It turns out that if there is one, I haven't found it. But I thought, you know, let's play around with all kinds of stuff and see what we like. And I was using that new spell that you get from Midra, I believe is the name. Midra's Flame of Frenzy. I was trying to use that. I was using the Great Katanas. I was playing around with all kinds of stuff, trying to figure out what to put on this build. It's a Madness build. I've also got the old one's Exaltation, or the aged one's Exaltation. I forget what it's called. Man, this Midra spell, it's not very good. I'll go into that more a little later. It builds up Frenzy on the caster so fast, and it burns through FP so fast. And it doesn't inflict madness very well, and it doesn't do a lot of damage. So, in all the ways that it can be bad, is it bad? But that's okay, you know? It looks cool. We can talk more about it later, you know? But, yeah, I was using the Great Katana, because I thought, well, that's kind of cool. A whole new weapon type that I've never used before. It's pretty interesting. It's got a feint attack on it, on the heavy attack, if you cancel out of it with a you know, a dodge button or a backstep. While you're charging up a heavy attack, your character will cancel the heavy and swing early, which is pretty sweet. I haven't found a lot of use for it yet in PvP, but you know, I am literally, these are the first invasions I've done since the DLC came out. I ran one of my madness builds to the lower level to level 80, and I grabbed Midra's the greatsword that Midra uses, the Sword of Damnation. And so on this build, I thought, well, let's do something different. Let's stick with the katana theme, because originally this build was, you know, it's like a joke that there was going to be. Look at that! How cool is that? The joke was that there was going to be a Madness Katana in the DLC. And so I thought, well, let's stick with the katana theme, right? And I was using the Great Katana. It's pretty good. It's, you know, it's got an excellent running attack. Imagine if the Zweihander had the crouch poke, right? But also had a running poke attack. That's the Great Katana. You know, that's pretty devastating. It has a lot of ranged poke attacks, and it can do a lot with those ranged poke attacks. But y'all know me, I'm that backstab man. They gave them back, so I'm gonna take them. You know, they said, here, you can have these back. Look at how many people just get absolutely knocked off ledges and almost knocked off ledges every time I use this Great Katana. It was actually pretty funny. I just kept having people like fall off ledges in every invasion, or I would knock people off with the flame skewer. It was beginning to become a theme of the invasions. But Madness Man is doing pretty good in the DLC. I know that spell's not very good, but we got a Madness Perfume and a Madness Fist Weapon, both of which I will add to this build, because this build is like level 168 or something. And so I can add 13 points of intelligence to the build and take advantage of those new stuffs. That is a weapon that I saw a whole lot, if you can believe it. Look, another one. The backhand blades, or whatever the hell they're called, those reverse grip swords. I saw so many of those, and it's not really surprising, considering the fact that they can do a running attack and keep running, which is absurd. The amount of pressure that you can apply with those weapons is disgusting, and so I was not surprised in the least to see them out and about in a big way. But yeah, the aged one's exaltation, or the old one's exaltation, I forget exactly what it's called. You get it off those untouchable old ones. And anytime somebody frenzies, you get a buff. It's like Lord of Blood's exaltation, or Kindred of Rot exaltation. It's like one of those. But it's for madness. And you don't have to wear it on your head anymore, which is what this guy used to do. He used to have to wear the dumpling. But now we've got the old Saint Riot Chaos Servant armor back, pretty much. I got my shoulder spikies. I got my black armor. I got my black helmet. I'm looking good. Can we just take a moment to appreciate how good the fashion in the DLC was? I was very excited about that. It's like Giant Hunt Flaming Skewer, except it doesn't send them flying in the air. It might on a bigger weapon, I don't know, but I doubt that it does, because that would interfere with the the combo potential of the poke into the fireball. It's pretty sweet. It's basically the opposite of Flaming Strike. You do a hit, and then after the hit, you get a weapon buff, as opposed to get a weapon buff and then do a hit, if that makes sense. Also, throwing weapons. Those were all over the place in these invasions. People love throwing stuff. It is a veritable smorgasbord of things being thrown right now. Pretty okay damage. Pretty okay, nice damage on the skewer. It's not great, but it's okay. Look at how quickly madness builds up in me. And look at how quickly I just burned through my FP. Now, you could definitely tag team this with the Cerulean Flask, the Wondrous Physic, so that you don't use FP for 10 seconds, and then like a Focus Charm, and then maybe like the Wondrous Physic that gives you higher resist. You could definitely try that and maybe make it a little better. But as it is, man, this thing is rough to do anything with old Midras. But I found another katana. And you know what? This is the one. This is the one. It's the Sword of Night. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Man. What a sick way to fight, eh? You know, Rivers of Blood, it's like it's trying too hard, and so it sort of comes off as cringe, you know? Corpse Piler, Rivers of Blood, versus Sword of Night with Witching Hour Slash. Look at this. Look at that. Come on. It's perfect. It's not a madness katana, but damn if it ain't cool. It's a pure dex weapon. And thankfully this is a Faith Dex build. So obviously not the best weapon that we could have on this build, but it's good enough, you know? I say this all the time, I might as well say it again. Your average opponent, when you invade, your average opponent will be bad, you know? That's just how averages work. So, you're typically not gonna need the very best of the best. It's nice to have the best possible thing on your build in case you do fight somebody who is good. But part of the fun of winning for me is, you know, in these types of situations where we've got like the bleed out backhand swords and the karate guy, and the Rivers of Blood. Part of the fun of winning these is, like, if I'm not going to get a sick clip, like that last invasion was a sick clip, you know? If we're not going to get a sick clip, then part of the fun of winning is just knowing what to do and not freak out. And that sort of like long, drawn-out fight where everything is just an absolute massacre battle. I love that. And it was really cool to see From Software tackle that as a PvE encounter in the DLC. Maybe some of you haven't played it or beat it yet, so I'll say less, but there's not like a PvP boss fight, but there's like something similar to that. And, you know, it's really cool. It's a lot of fun, I think, and hopefully it makes people sort of see the beauty of just player versus player builds going at it. And just these big, crazy battles that you can have. But it's a lot of fun. Either I want to get like a sick clip when I invade, or I want an invasion like this, where it's like a battle of, you know, they have the numbers, and so I have to be smart or at least, you know, clever for a moment. That's a lot of fun for me. And then you have this right here, where I want to finish this fight with the most clip-worthy thing that I can finish the fight with. And it certainly is not going to be Mitra's Flame of Frenzy, unfortunately. That thing is... it is not great. I said we'd talk about it, how it's not great, so let's talk about how it's not great. Way too little damage, especially compared to all the crazy stuff you're finding in this DLC. Way too little damage, and way too much FP, and way too quick to proc madness on yourself, which wouldn't be a bad thing on this build necessarily, because, like, you know, we've got the old one's exaltation or whatever it's called. So, you know, that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, especially if I'm out of FP anyway, right? It's like I've run out of FP, I'm gonna frenzy. When I frenzy, I'm gonna lose FP. Well, I'm already out. But the problem is that, like, if you frenzy and you're right next to your opponent, you're basically just giving your opponent carte blanche, which just means blank check to whip your ass, you know? And that check is always good. They always cash that one. The bank is always open. There is a teller on duty, and they're gonna teller your ass that they're beating your ass, because that's what happens. Anyway, I'm kind of in an awkward spot right now because my internet is not good enough for me to stream at the moment. But as you can see, it's obviously like fine to play games on. I can still get like, you know, like it doesn't take a lot of internet to play a game online. And as long as that internet is consistent, it's all right, right? But it does take a lot of internet to stream, and I don't have that much internet, unfortunately. But I've got all these playthroughs of the DLC planned out that I want to do on stream, and I can't do them right now because I can't stream. And so I was like, okay, well, what builds do I want to take through that I can just go grab stuff with that I'm not really wanting to do on stream? For example, I really want to do my short sword guy is going to be a Sekiro deflecting tier light greatsword. I want to do a playthrough with that. Just sword and board deflecting tier. It sounds like it's going to be so much fun. But I said I would do that on stream, and so I know there are people who want to see that and watch it. That's a neat Hoarfrost stomp. I don't know that I know where to find that. Honestly, I'll find it. I don't even really want to know. We'll get it at some point, but it looks cool. But yeah, so my madness guys, I was like, well, I don't really have anything planned for them. and it could be fun. Level 80 with like 6 Shadow Tree blessings. Midra is a nightmare. I did this on my level 80 build, which has like plus 15 or 16 weapons, I think. And oh my god, he's so much fun at that. It's very challenging at that level with only, you know, 6, I think, Shadow Tree blessings is what I had. On this is like 160. There you go. Midra's Flame of Frenzy. That's what it can do. That's the one thing it's good at, is killing somebody who has very little health. It's good for that. So, that's its redeeming quality. I had to point that out as it happened in the video, because I've been shit-talking this spell the whole video. So I thought I should say what it does good, and that's what it does good. Kind of forgot what I was talking about there for a second. But, yeah, fighting Midra at level 80, plus 17, 6 Shadow Tree blessings. Really fun. Very challenging. Really liked that fight. So far, in Invasions, I have mostly seen... it has been a whole lot of the reverse grip blades, like this one. People throwing perfumes. I invaded like a solo host who was doing the thing where you just throw the perfume at your own feet or whatever. Maybe he wasn't a solo host, because there was another invader when I got there, and he just like one-shot the other invader. But I think the invader had killed somebody, because obviously a second invader cannot show up unless there's 2 players in the world. So I think I just spawned in right as the Phantom. Maybe it was a blue. Who can say? Turn around and hit your opponent, especially against these swords. Because if you just try and run from those things, even a bad player is going to be able to kill you with it. It's crazy how much better Blind Spot is in Elden Ring than it was in Dark Souls 3. Like, they absolutely... Like, why didn't Square Off get that love? Square Off, Unsheath. I'm not going to ask for Spinning Slash to get any type of love. It doesn't need it, because it can go on the stupid... washing pole, the Nagakiba. I hate that. Sword Dance could use some love. It's not any better than it was in Dark Souls 3. Blind Spot is just absolutely... it wrecks house. But the worst is, you know the one. You know that one. The one that people like to use. Look at this. So sick. So sick. But, yeah. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Like, well, maybe you do. Blind Spot was in Dark Souls 3, and it was alright. But god dang, it's better now. We have this guy doing perfumes. I don't know if he was doing the aim at the floor thing, or if he was just throwing perfumes. I've not played with them yet, so I'm not sure. I will add the perfumes to this build, the Madness perfumes, as well as the Madness Fist. But I was just having too much fun with the katana. It's so edgy. In all the ways that I like. You know? Like, Rivers of Blood is cringy. I don't like that type of edgy. But Sword of Night, it's edgy in the good ways. Also, the fingerprint shield has seen a resurgence since the DLC came out. It appears that everybody is just shield poking all the bosses because they don't know how to fight them. Which is pretty funny. I love that. I love that for people. Like, as I stream, I read so many comments from people who are just mad about the bosses in this DLC being too hard. And I love it. They are hard. Do not get me wrong. They're hard. But they deserve to be. I paid $40. I want them to be $40 worth of hard. And they are. Some of them even maybe more heart. Some of them maybe $60 worth of heart. Oh, I guess I should say that about the Sword of Night. It has magic damage on it. It's not a lot, but it does have magic damage, which means it can get through shields. It has something in the item description about how, you know, it goes through shields. But I don't know what that means exactly. I don't know if it's one of those things where, you know, like it won't bounce off shields, maybe, or if it's one of those things where it just, you know, just does damage through shields, just does chip damage, and that's just item description, you know, explaining the magic damage on the weapon. I'm not sure, but it's not a ton of magic damage. I don't know if it does anything cool or not. I've just enjoyed swinging the sword, you know. And I was looking for like a Chaos Blade type of thing, and this is as close as I think you're gonna get. It's a full-on Dex katana. It's just Dex. It looks crazy. It's sick as hell. Look at my armor. Oh, here's another example of Midra's Flame of Frenzy doing something pretty good. If your opponents are in a small room, it can absolutely do some work. Just only invade in small rooms with dragons in them. You know? Only do that. This is one of those invasions where I don't know if they were ganking, but they decided they were now when I showed up. They were not going to go fight Melania. So I'm going to use the Flame of Frenzy Spear just to hopefully make this happen. And it did happen. This is what we want. Now, this guy got frenzied. I totally forgot that they changed the game, and it's harder to frenzy people after they've already been frenzied. Same with sleep. So maybe Midra's would have worked there, but how was I supposed to initiate Midra's? Right? Like, I'm going to initiate it by getting madness on the guy. Right? Does that make sense, Meth Goat? You know what I'm talking about. Right? It worked okay on the elevator. I'll say that. But, you know, for my money, there's nothing like getting close. Right? I love that inescapable frenzy. That one's probably still my favorite madness incantation. It's really nice, you know. But I got a new katana, got my armor, feeling pretty good. Anyway, it was nice catching up with you, Meth Goat. We'll see you next time. Until then, later, y'all.